Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of Fore Dads Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us today. If you haven't hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, definitely check us out. We're dropping clips, especially from the pro-am that we literally just attended yesterday. Had an exciting time, had a blast. It ended up being a beautiful day besides literally the first 10 minutes from walking off the bus out into pouring rain. And fortunately, one of the security guards hooked us up with the poncho, but it
Cherish,
was not shout out to Cherish. She was just like, don't tell anybody, take one of these. And then it literally didn't rain. It was sunny, beautiful day for the rest of the day. And Julio and I walked the grounds. We got to see a bunch of celebrities, and we just had a great time with it. But I definitely want to open up to Julio, because Julio has been there for like at least 4 or 5 times. He goes almost every year. I went the day before, and I literally stuck around the first and 18th hole because I had never been there. I did not know where I was, but following Julio was amazing. So Julio.
Yeah, I just want to say, my dad was a bit disappointed because it's something that we've always gone to every year for the last 5 years. But
you got to bring the dads in.
Yeah, he was just busting my balls about it. But Pebble Beach never disappoints. I think even if you're just going up there, it's just a visit. It's just such a beautiful place. I mean, it's like Disneyland for golfers, honestly. Just getting in, going over to the lodge, enjoy lunch with your friends, with your significant other, and just overlooking the Monterey Bay, seeing the beautiful 18th hole. It never gets old. There's just so much great stuff from when you arrive to when you leave. It's just such an experience, But I had a great time. I really enjoyed it this year. I was super happy to actually see some big name celebrities like Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Macklemore, Schoolboy Q, as well as Garrett Bale. I may be saying the wrong things here, but I had never really even heard of the guy until John brought it up, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, hey, soccer? Sorry, yeah, I don't really pay much attention to soccer. But then when Teeds ended up mentioning during the FIFA World Cup, he brought in a simulator because the guy was so addicted to golf. And I was like, oh, I heard about this guy,
Yep.
But
apparently, dude, he has 3 putting greens in his backyard. But keep going.
The luxuries.
Yeah, right.
Luxuries. Yeah, and honestly, it was just a beautiful experience. I mean, it turned out to be a beautiful day. I got to meet your son for the first time. I'm happy that he and I kicked it off well. He seemed to have a good time. Glad that
he was loving you, dude. He was having a blast.
I was able to rush home to my little princess, in just perfect time. I even beat mom home from Target, so I was like, But going into the tournament, we didn't get a chance to watch Justin Rose, but watching. Who was the first guy that we mentioned or that we saw? He was with Bale.
So the guy with Bale was his name is it was like Plandrum or Pandrum. He was one of the guys that was in the lead in on Saturday. Latham. L.
There you go.
Something like that. Let me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. I'm literally on my phone right now trying to. Oh, Bramlett. Bramlett. It was Bramlett.
I'm looking through
Joseph Bramlett.
Bramlett, there you go, Joseph Bramlett. So watching him was pretty exciting. I mean, the guy's got a great swing. I was definitely impressed with it. I feel like for the majority of the day, we really didn't have much time where we followed a specific group. We really just kind of we stayed over on 17 for a while. Mm-hmm. We saw Darius Rucker. We saw Aaron Rodgers come through, Schoolboy Q. We saw him shank the ball and hit somebody in the shin.
Got a video and link in the description for that. I got it on my GoPro. We literally were walking in the course and and I was like, hey, we'll see if we'll see when we get hit. Yeah. And sure enough, Schoolboy Q comes up on the par 3, shanks it down the sidelines, and you see people scatter. And he goes, "Hey, I was just making sure you guys were paying attention."
Yeah, making sure you guys were awake.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got that! Oh my gosh, I got that!"
Yeah. No, that was pretty funny. But it was so funny, watching him warm up. He was over there taking massive divots out of the tee box, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Dude, he was literally pulling a Joey Cold Cuts where
Literally.
he just like takes like a massive
Huge
divot.
divot.
And then in his head that he was thinking, okay, don't chunk it. And he thinned the crap out of it because he just overdid that. Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And so, so we got to see him, but there was a lot of other hype around some of the players' equipment. Like Josh Allen apparently was big on WRX, talking about how, he plays the P770s as his irons, and he has a P792 iron. Everything that he plays is tailor-made except for his putter. His putter is like a one-off that everyone was like, "Wow, this thing is one of a kind." Like it's a replica of Tiger's famous putter, but with a few little modifications. It has like four little squares on it that have, the Bills colors. It has, Josh Allen 17 on there. So, a lot of people on WRX were talking about that. Watching, we also got to, I mentioned this already, but seeing Aaron Rodgers, like I've only heard how good of a golfer he is, but seeing his swing compared to like Darius Rucker, and
it was solid,
dude, super solid. I was like, wow, like, bro, you might have
some of those football guys, you might have a career after that, right? I mean, like it's literally like a Tony Romo kind of guy where that some of those guys, when in the off season, they literally just they always are dedicating to something. For football. It's football, right? In off season, they're not just playing around just to drink with the boys. They're like taking it seriously. They want to do good. They want to not embarrass them, especially when you go to a pro-am. You don't want to embarrass yourself like Schoolboy Q did, But I mean, he had a good time with it. I probably would have been like, oh my gosh, I might have
apparently there was another guy named Dunham who was there, another celebrity, Dunham, who like. He was shanking shots left and right. I wonder if it was the old man that we first started watching when we first came down.
No way.
Right. And I wonder if it was him, because like my dad was texting me during or on my way home and was telling me like, dude, did you guys get to see this guy named Dunham? And I was like, no. He goes, the guy was shanking it, topping shots, like couldn't get off the tee box. And I'm like, and he was in the third/final day. Like, that's that's crazy. But I don't know if you had the opportunity today to tune into much of the tournament, but man, I have to say it was beautiful today. Like there was nobody out there. It looked like it was just like it did look empty. Like it was just a neighborly walk through Pebble Beach for those that live on 17 Mile Drive. And tip my hat to Justin Rose. Like the guy just went out there and was cruising. He just had fun, played his game, did exactly what he said yesterday on his final interview, which was like, I'm just feeling good. I'm trying to do my thing. I'm going to keep competing. I know that there's a lot of guys out here competing to win this, and I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, it literally just looked like some average guys out at the golf course on a Monday playing golf. It was empty. I wish they would have opened up the doors for like people who had tickets for Sunday, because I would have definitely gone again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was fortunate enough to go on Saturday with my wife and sister-in-laws and son, but we literally got there at the first hole, saw like 3 tee shots, and then it was too windy, and it ended up being suspended was play for about an hour and a half. And my son still has about like 3 to 4 hour wake windows. So like we tried to not keep him out too long, and he was doing fine. He was probably the only person at Pebble Beach that day that enjoyed the 40-mile-an-hour gusted winds. He was literally sticking his head out of his Duna like a little dog, just happy to be like, like wind. Oh my gosh. He was having such a fun time. Like it was hilarious. And while everyone else like bundled up freezing, he was like, no, I want to just stick my head out. Like, but fortunately he had a great time, but we only saw a few shots, and then they let our Saturday tickets carry over. So my wife and sister-in-law ended up coming back the next day. Once I kept texting him pictures, hey, there's Aaron Rodgers. Hey, there's Josh Allen. Hey, there's McLemore. Hey, there's Pau Gasol. Hey, there's blah, blah, blah. And then they get there, and their rounds are over. And they're like, sorry, you guys came too late. Like they're finishing up yesterday's round. So
yeah, what was your wife's youngest sister's name?
Julie.
Julie was like so distraught. She's like, wait, are there more celebrities coming? I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. And then all of a sudden the information guy was like, no, they're all done. And she was like, oh, you just kind of like saw her face. It's like, oh.
I know. I was just like,
and then she was testing us too. Like she was literally taking pictures and was like, who's this guy? Why is he so like,
right?
Like, is he good? Is he good?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't even know who those guys are.
We literally saw probably like 15 tee shots on one that took off, and I probably heard of like 4 of them.
The other like one.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably like, Harry Higgs, huh?
Yeah, that was it. I was like, I don't know who the rest of these guys are. And she was like, is Jordan coming through? Is Jordan coming through? I was like, I don't know when he'll be here.
Right. And the crazy thing is, and I told you earlier,
they had him teeing off at like 2:10.
It was insane. So late.
Yeah.
And he was like the worst, or like the closest to missing the cut, which I thought didn't really make any sense. But I was telling you earlier, when I originally came in on Friday night, we literally parked at our Holiday Inn, and we're getting out of the car slowly. My son is in the car sleeping, still napping, and we're trying to be quiet, not to wake him, so he sleeps as long as possible. And as soon as we open up the door, we hear a massive slam, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, there's been no cars come into this parking garage. It's been quiet the whole 10 minutes while we were waiting, and now someone slams their bag. And I go out, and I see like a staff Callaway bag, and I'm like, okay, like I know it's a golf tournament, but we're at a Holiday Inn, so it could just be like you or me that just has a staff bag, and it had a name on it. I wasn't familiar with the name, but I mean, like some people play with staff bags. I wouldn't recommend it. It's technically a cart bag, right? Would you say that, or is it different? Yeah. So they only put on the cart, and his name was Chris Stroud, and I Googled it really quickly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's playing in the tournament. Looked him up. He's a dad. 2 girls, Christian guy, seems like a nice guy, shot like 1 under that day. But I was like, he literally just grabbed his bag and walked up to his room. And I'm like, your caddy's not holding that bag?
Yeah.
Like, he only had like 5,000 followers, not a big following. He must not play that much. But I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. Like, we're staying in the same Holiday Inn as a PGA Tour golfer. Let's go.
Man. Hey man, I met Dave Mirra and Ryan Inquist at not Ryan Inquist. Ryan. Oh, why am I blanking on his name? But you know who Dave Mirra is, the famous BMX.
Not Lundquist.
Rider. Huh?
Not Lundquist.
No, not Lundquist.
No.
I forget what his name is, but I met those 2 guys, and we were staying at a Marriott, and they had like a big old like Slim Jim jam show that was going on, and Dave Mirra, R.I.P. rest his soul. But it was just like, those guys are just sitting down there having a continental breakfast with us, and here we are, like, 13-year-olds getting ready to go play a baseball tournament. Hotels are hotels, man.
Hey, I got nothing against it, man. I'm all for a good stay, a cheap stay, but like, you can't go wrong with Holiday Inn, you can't go wrong with Marriott. But I was still just like, I did not expect to see like a pro golfer there.
You saw a few other celebrities that were outside of your hotel too that you were telling me about. So you saw the guy from Workaholics. And
yeah,
stuff.
I saw Kyle Havlicek. We were driving from our Uber to Carmel by the Sea, and we literally were pulling right up. And I was like, a guy with an bright orange beanie. If you ever seen The Office, Dwight Schrute, when he has like that bright orange beanie, and it's like the rapper beanie, that just so he could stick out. And I was like, that guy looks so familiar. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Carl from Workaholics.
Yeah,
he's the writer of Workaholics. And I was like, and then my wife's like, oh my gosh, go say hi. And I'm like, the dude's literally like this. He's like looking around. He's like, he's literally like walking like and looking like, okay, like where am I? What street am I on?
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, okay, like, and I almost was like, hey, Carl, but his name's Kyle in real life. But everyone else in that show, like you have Anders Holmvik, I think his name's really Anders, and you have Blake. His name's really Blake, and their names are really their first name. So I figured it was Carl off the top of my head, but his name was Kyle. And then I was about to go say what's up, but he got back into his car. His wife was in the back seat. She was changing up like whatever their baby in the back seat was doing. And I was like, yeah, I don't just want to go up and be like, hey, I love your show. Thank you. So cool. Like, he's so weird. But yeah, I was like, dang, that sucks. He was literally right there. And literally the little winery that we were at literally had like the massive windows looking right at that corner, and I did not keep my eye away from that corner for the rest of the night. So, okay, is he going to drive back? Is he going to come back? Is he going to drive? I know the car. I'm ready to go. Just drive back, and I'll be like, hey.
That's cool. That's cool, man. So I know one person that I would have loved to have seen. I don't know if you had the chance to see him when you were there on Saturday. Was Michael Pena. And
I wish, man. Oh.
Yeah. So they were saying that he had 2 drivers in the bag. He was trying to test out like which one he wanted to play, and he had 2 putters in the bag. So he was testing out the Callaway Paradigm. It was like a tour head. It was like a 10.5 plus, and then he was testing out the new Ping G430.
Dang. And 2 putters.
And then he had 2 putters. They were both Bettinardi's. One was like a BB8 TRG, which is like the tour. It's like the tour designed one. The second one was just a standard BB8, which is it's almost the same design, but not. It's got a slightly more bent neck to it, so it kind of sits a bit flatter. But yeah, apparently he was out there rocking both of them with out there playing both and trying to dial it in, and everyone was like, man, like he's ripping both drivers, but he ended up going with the Paradigm during the tournament, and that leads me to another piece. I noticed, I don't know if it was just you, but did you notice how many players were rocking TaylorMade, like for the celebrities that we saw?
I honestly didn't really pay attention to that. I was just watching them and their swings and things like that. But I mean, in regards to those, I feel like TaylorMade and Callaway are probably the most popular brands for like not just celebrities but in the world, and I mean like top 2 as in like the average golfer, not like top tier golfers. Of course you can get great clubs and get fitted great for with those clubs, but I feel like a lot of celebrities, if they are sponsored, like I think what's his name, Patrick Mahomes is TaylorMade, I think, right? And then someone else is Callaway. I forget who. Like, there's other like professional football players that are what they are, but like it's usually those 2. It's not like Titleist.
Callaway.
Matt, that's right. Was it you that was telling me that like he took a TaylorMade driver and was like, "Oh, thanks for this," and just like chucked it.
Yeah. He was like Callaway all the way, man. But I gotta say, these guys literally just throw out clubs to people, like it's Halloween, like it's candy on Halloween.
I mean, like at the program, they're tossing out clubs to fans.
No. I'm just saying, like TaylorMade themselves. I mean, I feel like they give their clubs to anybody and everybody, like for free.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
kind of like what is the rowback? Kind of
go down to the kingdom and get fit, professionally and do everything. But I just feel like so many celebrities, so many athletes all play TaylorMade, and it's like you see TaylorMade's really trying to make a move into like the marketing. They really anybody who's like a social media content creator, almost like 3 of 10 of them would be playing, maybe even more, maybe 4 of 10 of them would be playing TaylorMade. I mean, they like if you're somebody, they're just like, here you go. I know
it's like the rowback. Have you heard rowback? Rowback is like there's like a joke on like Instagram where it's like if you're an influencer, you're always going 15% off rowback if you use this code. Everyone's using it as a code, and I think, in my opinion, if like TaylorMade and Callaway, like they make great stuff. Don't get me wrong, they make like top of the line stuff. Yeah. In my opinion, if they want to move up to, if they don't think that they are where they want to be and they want to get higher or whatever it is, I think they need to slow down on coming out with new stuff every few months. They need to make it either yearly or every year or every 2 years, because I mean, Titleist does that. They don't come out with stuff every 6 months, every 7 months. They try and do every 2 years. I think wedges might be yearly and balls might be yearly, but not like the rest of the clubs. It's usually a 2-year cycle. Yeah. And by doing that, like, yeah, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's probably the way to go about it, because if you're throwing out so much brand new stuff, the amount of things that you're not able to sell within those 4 to 5 months before the new stuff comes out.
It just goes like right to Callaway pre-owned. It goes, they just end up powering all those secondary sellers. I mean, you go to Second Swing Golf, almost 65% of their stuff is TaylorMade and Callaway.
Oh yeah,
right? And
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it just kind of comes to the specific golfer that you are. Like, in my personal opinion, I know, or, in my personal opinion, I don't think Titleist is all that anymore. I think they're kind of behind, and maybe some of the things that they're trying to do. It's more of just the traditional golfer who really enjoys their stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say the best thing that they release every single year, maybe not at price wise, but just in overall consistency, is their wedges. I mean, Vokey wedges have been, the business
Top of the line, yeah.
Yeah, since forever. Everybody plays them. And, I remember when they first came out with the spin mills, everyone was saying, like, oh my God, they're ripping the cover off the face, right? They have a little bit thicker grooves than most. Everyone was getting that tight action. All of a sudden, it was like, here come the SM2s, SM3s, SM4s, and blah, blah, blah. And the consistency of the wedges have just been spot on. Yeah. Now, I did have a set of AP2s back in the day. I was like the 714s. I had like the 714s. And they felt good, but they just felt so clicky. And, I still have a set of 716 blades, right? And I just never play them because I just don't like the feel of them. But
yeah,
I hit a Callaway, Apex MB, like, feels flush all the time. I don't know what it is. It's a different kind of feel.
Half it is definitely mental.
Yeah.
The other half is definitely, everyone's got their own preference. And like for me, even if I hit, like I played TaylorMade clubs for about 6 years, irons at least. And, I loved them. They worked well for me. But I'm OCD. I want all Titleist. I want all matching, like that's just how I'm going to roll.
Yeah.
And like for you, I know you've been fortunate to be able to play multiple sets of irons, multiple sets of clubs, trying out what works, what doesn't work. And I know you've told me multiple times that like you'll test out a new set of irons, and even if you like it, you're like, you always come back to the Callaway.
Yeah.
They'll always come back to your Callaway. So you're like, as much as I want a new set, the only new set that I would get is the exact same set that I have now, because there's no way to upgrade at the moment. But yeah, it's all personal preference, but yeah, like you're saying with the whole TaylorMade and Callaway, how they're just like throwing stuff out there to anyone and anyone that'll take a sponsorship or has a celebrity label attached to their name. I totally agree with that. And I get it. It's an easy way to get people to take your clubs and, like promote them even more than they are. But I feel like those are perfect. Not just, you see countless amount of people like Rory, there's so many people that are with TaylorMade, and then, so many people with Callaway, but they have I think they have the best game improvement irons. Like for the new golfer, obviously they have the best of the best when it gets higher up, but I don't think Titleist is good with that, with like improvement irons and stuff like that. They might have some, options, but definitely not as much as TaylorMade and Callaway does.
Yeah, actually, I did go test out the T100 or the T200s as like just to see what they felt like, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a pretty good improvement iron from Titleist. I will tip my hat to that. That was actually a pretty solid feeling club. Now the T100s, they feel really good, approach wedge to 7, but then once it gets into the longer irons, it just feels like something in the weighting just isn't right. Like I was getting, a draw,
a bigger disbursement.
Well, I was getting a draw with a 5-iron. I was getting a cut with a 4-iron, and then I would just either get a cut or a straight ball with the 3. So it was like, how, and I even went in and did like the marking of like the tape where the impact tape. And it was like, you're talking, centimeters off of where each spot was hit before, and I would just get completely different results. So it was like, and that's exactly what my MBs feel like that are in the garage. It's approach wedge through 7, pure, great feeling, right? And then you get into some of the longer irons, and you're like, where is that coming from? But aside from that, speaking on clubs, there was some big news talking about how Bryson DeChambeau didn't want to play his new designed driver, and now he's putting in the Stealth 2. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think it's a good look, if I'm being honest. You're creating a driver. You're this guy who hits the ball a country mile. You're known for power, speed, and you're also known as being like, what do you call it? Not physics, but like an engineer, right? Like he's just so in tune with everything, and he's just wants to know the little details, all the data, get everything to help make him be a better golfer. And he doesn't even like the driver that came out with. Ugh, that is not a good look. I mean, like, that is, I'm sure, what's it, Bridgestone? It's right. Who it is, right? Bridgestone?
Bridgestone is the ball he plays.
Puma. Well, Puma. Bridgestone makes clubs. They make drivers, but then if it's not Puma, what is it?
Cobra.
Yeah, okay, that's it. I was
talking about Cobra.
I was blanking. But Cobra is not going to be happy because if you put so much money behind trusting Bryson DeChambeau into this, and then he doesn't even play it, that's the whole point. You do it because he's going to play it. Just like when Tiger Woods came out and played that Nike Square driver.
The Sasquatch.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine playing a freaking Square? It's like you're playing with a Lego. Like, you got to be kidding me. And
it's funny when I still hear that driver out on some courses, and I'm like, because the sound was so loud, you couldn't miss it. You just knew, oh shit, someone's playing a Sasquatch.
And you know the only reason people bought it was because of Tiger Woods. And people have made like memes on like Instagram and Facebook where they're like, hey, if you ever are having trouble with the driver, don't like how your driver looks, just remember that Tiger Woods won golf tournaments with this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he stuck with it for a little bit before kind of, changing it up and be like, hey, this doesn't work. That is it even out? Is it even out, that club, or is it not even out yet? No, not the Sasquatch. Bryson DeChambeau's.
Yeah, it's the Aero or the Aerojet.
How long has it been out? What'd you say?
Oh, not very long. Like less than a month, maybe.
Dang. Yeah. I mean, like if it's like 6 months down the road, a year down the road, at least they'd have some sales, maybe some returns, but some sales on that before. But like you're not even. It's like a movie that came out and like bad review came out within the first couple of weeks, and now no one's seeing it with all this hype that came up to it.
Yeah.
They're like, instead of like down the road, people are like, yeah, it wasn't as good as we thought it was, but that sucks. What do you think?
I don't know, man. I mean, I went and hit it the day that it hit the golf mart that's down the street from my house, and it felt pretty good. I mean, it looks visually like really good, and I'm the kind of person that I like to kind of look down at a driver that's slightly open because I normally my go-to, I guess, ball path is like is a small cut, so I kind of like a little bit open, so I know like, okay, if I need to hit the old trusty cut, I got it,
right? Right.
But it didn't feel bad, and I was actually mildly impressed with just the look of it, from like the tour one to the more game improvement based one, the draw bias, like. It looks and feels really, really good. And what's even crazier too is like Cobra just signed Gary Woodland as well. So Gary Woodland's moving off of
Wilson
for the first
really
time in a long time.
Wow.
And he's now signed like a 5-year contract with Cobra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's crazy for, like I said, with Bryson, that's the guy that literally pretty much created the club. And have you seen some of like the things that Bryson has tried to create? Like some of the crazy club ideas that he's tried?
I know he has like some absurd club trainers, like to kind of help him feel like the pronation when you're going down, the compression angles of like where your wrist is at, of where to even set your wrist. So you don't really have to worry about too much rotation in the head. Like I've heard some of that. I follow him on YouTube and I hear it. But the one thing that like blows my mind the most, and a lot of people have like posted on TikTok and Instagram, just resharing it is his ideology of the ball and where the center is at, to where now, like when I go into golf mart, there's literally like this rotating like blender without the blades that will rotate your ball to where when you put a mark,
Oh, they find the center of it because it's always just a little off or something.
Yeah, he'll find exactly where the center of the ball is. And Bryson does like this. He does like a water floating test. So he like will put. I guess he does this before every tournament, and I've heard this from several.
No way.
Times. He gets like a fish tank, puts some salt in it, right, for the buoyancy of it, and then he will drop the balls inside, right? The balls that he get the ball, right. He'll drop them inside. The ones that point logo up is the ones that he will take. The ones that don't, he gives them back and tells them to go remake those ones.
Dang.
So the ones that are logo up, it means that the line that they draw on the ball is in line with the center of the ball, leading towards the mark. That's just something that I heard now.
Ever since he won the U.S. Open, what else has he won? Maybe he might need to change that up a little bit. Try one tournament with it. Try one tournament without it. Because I was just gonna say also with the driver, you hit it. You thought it was a nice driver, but yeah, and you've hit so many clubs, so you play all the time, so you're someone that is definitely a trusty source for that. But I guess when you have 250 mile an hour ball speed, it just doesn't work the same, huh? I guess there's something wrong with it where it just. Who would have thought you swing 150% and it doesn't go straight? Wow, who would have thought?
That's that. But that's the thing is, from my days working for Callaway, when I got to see like when Callaway partnered with Boeing and they came out with the XR driver that was designed.
You love that thing. That thing
to have less drag, so you're maximizing your club head speed. I remember going into like the R&D section and seeing the engineering and the aeronautics that went into all of it. They literally had a wind tunnel, bro, like a wind tunnel like you would see on a car.
That's freaking dope.
And you could just see the lines and how like the dispersion of the wind had no effect on the driver. Right.
Dang.
So they hooked it up to like a robot and you could see it go through, showed the club head speed with the ball speed. It was insane. So I know that there's a lot of testing that goes into these things, especially for tour players specifically. But the one thing that I'm not sure why so many club designers are going into this is like the carbon fiber crowns, right? For people who are swinging, 120 and up, right? Maybe even 115, and they're hitting the center of the face. It's a lot of inertia that's coming out of it. And you're seeing these TaylorMade. TaylorMade has been the one driver that it's the crowns are just popping off. Like they're popping. I
know.
Like crazy.
That's scary, dude. With how much you're paying for a dang driver nowadays, like $600. Like
exactly. And I've had my share of Callaway drivers, and the only thing that happens when I'm really hitting it well, and I've had it for a while, like my last Epic triple diamond head, I went and played around, and all of a sudden first swing off the first tee box, I just heard this weird tink sound, and the face cracked, and I was like, oh, like what do I do? And you know what? The one thing and why I stay so committed to Callaway is it doesn't matter how old the stuff is. Literally doesn't matter. If you kept it for that long and it's like it's a broken shaft at the hosel, it's a cracked face or a cosmetic chip to like that's pretty significant, right? Like if it falls, they're so good to just be like, hey, you know what? Like we'll take one from our pre-owned shop, we'll send it over to you. Like, is that fine? Did you have a specific shaft in it? Was there
really?
Was there any adjustment? What grip did you have on there? And here you go. Like, we'll send it off to you. Now, wow. TaylorMade, if you had something old, like, M3, like the old M1, all the, the Stealth that was just out, all that stuff, like, it takes them forever to, like, validate it. They have to go like on an investigation to see like, did you do this or
interview your family? Okay, was this legit?
How many people are you playing with?
Right. Can we have their phone numbers, emails? Can we contact them?
Yeah, we require at least 2 sources before we
right, and a 5-page essay, and
yeah.
I mean, what's funny is just with speaking of, like, with cracks and stuff like that, I just got the TSR3, literally pre-ordered it when it came out, got that, literally hit it like 5, 6, or maybe 1 or 2 practice range. Or practice range, man. I'm blanking right now. Driving range. So I take it up to driving range. I'm hitting it, trying to figure it out. Having a good time. And then right before, a few days before my first round that I'm going to hit with it, I noticed there's like a little crack on like the hosel. I'm trying to wipe it off. Trying to wipe it off. I'm like, oh wow, that's like catching. Okay, like, oh crap, that's like, there's a little like crack right there. I'm like, it was literally on the outside of the hosel. It was so random. But I work with Club Champion and ordered it through them. And I was talking to my guy one of my guys in my wedding, one of my groomsmen, he worked at Club Champion, hooked me up with this guy because he doesn't work there anymore. And he was the one who I've been in contact with. And he goes like, clean it as best as you can. And obviously it's in good shape. Like, it looks clean, but like, just like make it look brand new, and that it just was shipped that way. And so I was like, really? He's like, yeah, just put it as clean as possible and then send it in. And we'll just say that it was shipped, wrong. And I was like, okay, because like I didn't do anything wrong. I literally have only taken it out like once or twice. And they sent me another one before I even shipped it out. So it got there. Honestly, I think the day after my round, I ended up playing at Riverside, and I know that they work with Titleist. So I hit them up and I'm like, hey, I have the shaft. I know you guys have TSR3, demos. If I how can I borrow one just for the round? And they're like, oh, just drop off your credit card and just bring it back before you leave. So obviously we have some collateral. Yeah. And I played the round with that, no problem. But I ended up thinking that the issue of why it was cracked, it wasn't because I played, it was because my Tesla trunk was small, and I think it got crunched. I think that's what it was. And I had it for maybe like a week and a half, and I'm like, dude, I just paid $600 for this. There's no way I'm going to just let this go and be play with a cracked driver from the get-go. Yeah. So I was so lucky with that. And I can only imagine with other companies aren't that fortunate, but because there are people that could easily sabotage a club just to get, a brand new one. And the world is very bad. You see people on TikTok all the time just doing stuff for clout, and it's not genuine. And because of that, it ruins it for the people who actually are playing and something happens genuinely, But I got really lucky in that situation. Whew.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude. I mean, I know Titleist is definitely a stickler. If there's any type of damage, they're like, well, sorry. We don't do anything, for that. Going back to the Pro-am. So the collectible store that we went into, I don't know if you saw, but they had a real they had a collector's set of Arnold Palmer's irons up on the wall. I don't know if you saw that set, but so. Apparently on Monday, someone bought them for $250,000.
He was definitely a resident, right? Because you said only residents were
had to be. But yeah, someone bought his. They were the DYNA powered Wilson irons staff model, and they even have the drilled holes like you see in Callaways, where the weighting distribution of the club head. There's it's 2 little holes drilled in on the 7-iron, on the toe, and someone bought them. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane, dude. That's almost like half my house.
Isn't that crazy?
Nuts. I mean, I've been seeing a few memes pop up about the old golf clubs, and it was with the wooden shafts, and it's man, can you imagine? Can you believe that Harry Vardon back in 1906 shot a 65 with these?
Yeah.
And you look at these clubs and you're like,
how is that even
the
possible?
heck, man? Oh my! And then with the golf ball, I know we were in that collector shop that we were at. They had all the golf balls, and they had the oldest golf ball, and it was selling for $15,000. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! Imagine playing a ball that literally is what do you call those blue balls that you play with in tennis? Not tennis, but racquetball. Little racquet balls, right? It's literally that kind of there's no grip. So when you hit the club, it literally just it slides off of it. And imagine not having any spin. And
well, think about this.
Insane.
Think about this. Could you imagine back in the day, like when Harry Vardon was playing, you couldn't mark your ball.
You couldn't mark your ball. You're playing in a suit and tie.
Yeah, you had to hit the ball to curve.
Well, that's stymie, right? It was stymie. Yeah. That's what they called it.
Yeah, you had to do that. So it's kind of like, for that kind of ball. And then if you look at the old putter designs, I mean, those putter faces look like cheese graters. So
terrible, man.
Okay, if I putt across this, it's gonna come out and swing around, and I'm gonna catch it on the backside. Like, hey, I know, that's that would be a heck of an experience to kind of be able to try and play like that. And there's only one place you can go do it, which is St. Andrews. So
yeah. Right, and I mean, I've always been I'm a huge history guy. I got undergrad history major. I've always wondered, kind of like the LeBron, who's better, LeBron James or like Michael Jordan, kind of like debate that goes on. But they're in such different eras of basketball, so like you can't really. Obviously, everyone has their opinion, but like, how cool would it be to have like Harry Vardon play the brand new Titleist set, or the brand new TaylorMades with his old swing and everything, or Tiger Woods play with Harry Vardon, or one of those, like going back and forth to see how much better an old timer would be in the new age with all the new stuff, that like all the extra spin, the better golf balls, all these other things. I always think it'd be so cool. Something that'll never happen.
There was a discussion about that. Like someone was talking about like, Gary Player, Arnold Palmer, and Jack Nicklaus, and they were talking just about their pure strength that they had. Like these, everyone talks about how I guess Arnold Palmer like served in the military. He was just like a behemoth of a man. I mean, he was a strong dude, according to a lot of people who had the luxury of watching him play. He was just a strong guy, and they would take like what. There's a video somewhere on YouTube where they took the numbers of what he was hitting his club iron or his irons at the time when he was competing, and with the technology that was kind of available at the time, they had his pitching wedge at like 130 something. Wow. Had a 9-iron. I'm not even going to go down all the numbers, but they took what it would take they took the numbers of what it would take to hit the ball that far with those clubs, and they were trying to simulate what it would be like to hit today's technology. And they were like they were like Arnold Palmer would be up there with like some of the biggest hitters when it came to drivers, when it came to the shots in. Like it would be a completely different kind of game for if he were playing today.
Man, I mean, I think
that's the one thing. Like we've had some conversations, and even Tony's talked about it too, which is like there's so much stuff that you can do for your golf clubs to really tailor it to the type of player you are if you have the funds. Like peering your irons, peering your shafts. It's a ridiculous price to where like literally they get the perfect little kick point to where they tie it in like directly every single time. It's going to kick at that point, no matter where you hit the ball in the face. It keeps it so consistent. Like it's crazy, dude. But, overall, I think the tournament was incredible. It was awesome being able to to see you and hang out and just experience all that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more, hopefully, that we can go to in the future throughout the rest of the year. But I had an awesome time. Just again, Pebble never disappoints in any type of experience.
Can't go wrong. And yeah, I mean, I had an absolute blast. Like I told you before, it's the second tournament that I've ever been to. First one was, I think it was the Target Invitational that Tiger hosted every year down in Thousand Oaks, probably like 20 years ago now. Had a blast with that. Saw Tiger and everything. But I think we forgot to mention this, because at least I think we did. 18th hole, we got free beers. That was like the coolest. Besides seeing like all those like the celebrities and everything like that, we were literally walking down the 18th hole, and there's this guy and his buddy walking next to him, and one of them has like a box of Coors
24
Light
pack
bottles
of Coors Lights.
bottles. And I was like, and I walked in, we were walking towards each other, and I was like, dude, how'd you get those in? There's no way you were able to smuggle those in. He's like, no, dude, there's like houses, like any other country club that line up. And he goes, no, these people were partying out here, and they're asking if we wanted any. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Can we get one? And he's like, yeah, sure. You guys want one? I'm like, heck yeah. Let's take a beer. It's like 8:30 in the morning. It's like, hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And then I think another, like 100 yards down, we're walking and we see a bunch of guys with IPA bottles.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, was it you guys that hooked them up with the beers? And we're like, no, they hooked us up with the beers. So, like the same people gave another set of dudes just like some other beers. And I'm like, no way.
And we still didn't get to that spot where they were giving out the beers.
I know. I'm like, did they go inside already? Did they get too hammered?
I think that was the one thing that like we missed out on when we were there, was to actually get up to the 18th green and like see everything from that side, because we didn't even get over there.
No. I think it was because we wanted to see Victor Hovland, right? We're going that way. Like, hey, let's go back. And then I think you were reading the screen that showed earlier today or whatever, where he was on the 6th hole, and we went all the way back there. And then we tried to win. You won a cool little bucket hat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even know where that thing's at, but yeah, I did. I won a high noon bucket hat. There you go.
Yeah, and I got robbed. I got absolutely robbed on my attempt for it. We have it in the video. Well, not that part, but the putting was impossible. Yeah. Literally, how close they put the hole. You had to like fly it through one of like the little loop-de-loos, and it was literally impossible to hit a putt. It would have been cool. What were you going to win there? It was a towel, right? It was a towel.
Yeah, a caddy towel.
A caddy towel. But yeah, no, I had a blast, man. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to my buddy Eddie, who hooked me up with tickets on Saturday. Julio hooked us up with tickets on Sunday. And I'm hoping that Julio and I can get a round in at one of the resort courses out there where my buddy works at. And I've talked to my buddy Eddie, but he hasn't really responded about this, but I'd love to get him on the podcast since he is an assistant pro at Del Monte. Obviously being a fitter, being an assistant pro, and going to be a pro eventually at one of those courses. I think it'd be cool to have him on and get some insight of his day to day, especially in Monterey. It's also a funny story how I met him, but yeah, I mean, I think this is a good spot to end the pod tonight. And, looking forward to next weekend's tournament, next weekend's Super Bowl. Next weekend they're playing Waste Management, which hopefully, Julio, within the next year or two, I'll be able to hook us up with some tickets. My father-in-law does a lot of work for Waste Management. He's like, hey, just let me know. And, the only downside, of course, is it's the Super Bowl weekend every time. But at the same time, like, it's the Waste Management tournament. It's like, if you don't like golf, that is the one golf tournament to go to, where it's not even going to feel like golf. You're just going to feel like you're at a massive rave. It'll be so much fun to attend. But yeah,
it will always be a special tournament for me. You missed the opportunity, but my bachelor party it was great. It was such an awesome time that we all got to go and have a good time over there. So yeah, always definitely one that I'm excited about. And yeah, man, thank you again, for coming all that way to Monterey and hanging out. Yeah,
of course, man. Just speechless.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys again. If you guys haven't already, check us out again on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. I got the footage of Schoolboy Q shanking it into the crowd. It's hilarious. I'm still replaying it in my head, and I send it to everybody because obviously it's not something that the TV's picked up or at least are showing people. But I thought it was hilarious, and he was a good sport about it too. So I thought it was funny too because I called it. I'm like, hey, let's see if anyone gets hit. And then I think the next shot, Macklemore literally almost
put it in the
stands. I was like, come on, let's go. Yeah. But yeah, it was a great time, fun, good people to be around. And thank you guys for tuning in. And next week we'll probably be talking about the Waste Management tournament. We'll be talking about the Super Bowl and things like that. But have a good rest of your day, and take care, everybody.
See you later, everybody.